Hi. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to OHearnFest. So this is, called it a symposium, so it's a scientific endeavor, but also in its original meaning, a party. So this is very much what it's like to work with Peter, and as you're here today. And yeah, so this is in honor of Peter O'Hearn's 60th birthday, which was last year, and as such, happy birthday, Peter. I have a birthday boy badge for you. Not the last time you'll be embarrassed today, I'm sure. So we have a full day of talks, but before we get started, if you'll indulge me, I would like to say a few words about how I came to know Peter. So it started in 2006, 18 years ago. I was a student at ENS, and I was looking for a research internship. And there was this group in London that caught my eye. They were doing separation logic. Sounds cool. And so my teacher, Daniel Irshkov, who afterwards ended up being my PhD grandfather, wrote to Peter asking him for an internship. And here's his reply, my first contact with the man. So this is from Peter about a student. That would be me at the time. I look a bit different now. Yeah, that's me. So bad news, our relationship wasn't off to a great start. He couldn't make it. And also he called me Daniel. But as always, very helpful fellow, very encouraging of Daniel. So things ended up okay in the end. I did an internship with Cristiano, who sadly is ill and couldn't make it today. And that's how it all started for me. And I got to meet Peter in London that year, and he didn't call me Daniel, so all is good. And then the next story was Peter agreeing to examine my PhD. So here's Peter and Cristiano, pretty happy after my defense at a bar in Paris. Afterwards, Peter hired me as a postdoc in London. And And back then the group was at Queen Mary. Afterwards we moved to UCL. And when we weren't in Peter's office, on his couch in front of his famous blackboard, we went to the pub every Friday with the entire group. And there was always a place of bracing scientific discussion, as you can see here, with Peter and Jad. And this brings us to, it doesn't bring us yet. So in 2013, Peter was looking a bit preoccupied at the pub. That's because he was preparing, he was about to move to Facebook, to industry. So here are Juan, Peter, and Nikos, a bit of Nikos. And indeed he did, which brought us to Popple, Philadelphia, just 10 years ago, which was the first time Peter and the gang came to Popple, not as academics, but as industrials. And so here's part of the Infer team back then, Dulma, Martino, Peter, and Cristiano. And yeah, wonderful day was Popple 10 years ago. Notice the forest of company-provided Mac machines. And let me close this part with this excerpt for a dialogue that happened a year ago or so. Jules, please don't organize a festival when I turn 60. Sorry, Peter, I don't make up the rules. So yes, have a wonderful day, and welcome to Peter's festival. And over to you, Azalea.
Thank you. Testing, am I on? Can you, yes, the AV guys? Okay. Right, well, thank you, Jules, and thank you all so much in joining us for celebrating Peter, the person, the colleague, the friend, and of course, the amazing researcher. And we can't talk about Peter's research, of course, without talking about separation logic. I'm sure a lot of you today will make references to separation logic and how it has influenced your work. But for us, when we were thinking about separation logic, of course, it has been disseminated in so many papers. But the two that came to our minds, which is cited over 4,300 times is one of the original papers by Peter and Hongsek, who is in the audience and will give the first talk, and the survey paper by John Reynolds. But over 4,300 citations in less than 2 decades, and still counting. And I'm sure, like I said, you will all talk about how it has influenced you and your research, but one of the best ways, in my opinion, in which this is documented is this graph by Ilya Sergey, documenting the genealogy of concurrent separation logics. And as you can see up there, right at the top, is concurrent separation logic, another piece of work by Peter in 2004. And over 20 years, you can see how much new research and new program logics this has led to. And of course, this is only one dimension, the program logics that Peter has worked on. But to me, this talks about the influence that Peter has had on the field and his seminal work, and of course, his almost superhuman gift for coming up with simple, elegant, and yet incredibly influential work. So I said superhuman, and serendipitously, the other day I came across this photo of Peter, striking the perfect superhero pose. And I thought, okay, let's say if Peter was a superhero, what would be his name? The one I could think of was Seminal Man, because of all his seminal work. And I couldn't help myself with this. And no offense to Henry Cavill, I think that Peter is actually a much better seminal man than Henry Cavill. And of course, he's been behind so many great ideas. We owe him so much in this field, things like biabduction, the whole monoedics infer story. But one of his latest brainchilds is, of course, incorrectness logic, which as of today is 4 years old because it was published in POPL 2020, and it has already had over 120 citations under its belt. And it has already spurred on so much new research by colleagues, including myself, who's had the pleasure to work with Peter. In fact, I am very grateful to Derek Dreyer, who back in 2019 approached me and said, hey, do you want to work with Peter? Before I actually show you my answer, which you can expect is that that's me back in 2019, that's Derek. I've written in perpetuity, just as an aside, because he's one of those people whom I actually think does not age. I'm sure there's a portrait of him somewhere in an attic, aging instead of him. So the next time he invites you over for a whiskey night, maybe don't go to the attic, just saying. So Derek asks me if I want to work with him and Peter on incorrectness separation logic, and I'm like, boy, do I ever want to work with you guys? Of course I do. So that was my initial reaction. There's a confetti shower going on in my head. Then I thought about it a little bit, and then I'm filled with dread because, oh my God, I am going to work with Peter O'Hearn. And I'm very glad that I did. Since then, Peter and I have been working together on several projects. And in fact, this is us with me behind the camera at a security conference last year in America. Peter delivered the keynote. As usual, he dazzled and wooed the room, and he was definitely the hit of the conference. But no surprise there, of course. I also would like to say very briefly how I met Peter. Of course, as the seminal man of our community, I already knew about Peter when I started my PhD, but I didn't get to meet him in person until 2015. So there I was presenting a very small contribution to separation logic, ironically called Colossal. You can see it in this diagram here. This was in ESOP in London in 2015. Peter attended my talk, and not only did he ask insightful questions, but he also left me with some really encouraging and supportive remarks. They meant a lot to me. They have stayed with me for a long time. And this brings me to another superhuman gift that Peter has, his kindness and his generosity. It doesn't matter if you're a junior PhD student, he would treat you exactly as he would a peer, an equal, and that means the world to me. So at this point, I couldn't help myself and come up with another parallel with a historical figure. So I thought, okay, who would almost parallel Peter's kindness? So I thought, maybe Father Teresa. Oh, sorry, wrong photo. How about this? Anyway, but all jokes aside, Peter's kindness and generosity are as great, if not better, than his research. He's an amazing man, which reminds me of this comic strip that I would like to leave you all with. So there's a young person asking the oracle, it might as well be Peter, so what can I do to live forever? And the oracle says, well, you should be difficult to forget. The young person asks, how do I do that? How am I going to be difficult to forget? Do I create art? Should I be famous? Should I be powerful? And the oracle simply replies, be kind. And I truly believe this is exactly how Peter conducts himself in the community. I'm sure you will all have stories of both his the amazing research powerhouse that he is, as well as his kindness and generosity. So before we all get too soppy, I'm going to stop here. But I also want to say that we can't all be as kind as Peter, So in fact, in order to make the life of our session chairs a little bit easier, should your talks overrun, we're going to override you with loud music, like this. So please do not overrun. And I'm told some of this music is the greatest hits of Peter O'Hearn, as in he likes this music, so this is why we're playing it today. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass over to our first speaker, Hong Sik, and our session chair, Matt. Thank you.